We thought that today an interesting lunch presentation would have been to have heard from two City of Los Angeles ballot measures that took two distinctly different tacks on ways to hopefully slow the spread, or perhaps even put in process the routes to solve homelessness in the city of Los Angeles. Thanks to the settlement agreement that was announced last week with the Los Angeles Alliance for Human Rights, the campaign that was called a Safer LA initiative that was put on the ballot initially by Los Angeles City Council member Joe Buscaino was withdrawn because the settlement agreement largely does what his ballot measure would have done. That being said, there was a second measure, or there is a second measure that you all can discuss the status of how close you are to qualifying. There's a second approach, United to House LA, that will also appear, if they get the requisite number of signatures, on the November 2022 ballot. So what we wanted to do was to give those in attendance and those online a snapshot of what this campaign is all about. This is, as Tracy Hernandez likes to say, this is their extended Super Bowl commercial where they can lay out their best arguments. I'll ask some very benign questions that will hopefully elicit some additional information, and we'll leave it up to you in the room to decide whether you think this is a good idea or a bad idea. But the important thing is that you know about it and you're aware that it's on the November ballot. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Eli and to Alan. The floor is yours. Make your case.
Well, thank you, Matt. And Tracy, your Super Bowl advertising check is in the mail. What is it, $4.5 million this year? Yeah, about that. Oh, wow. Okay, inflation is really killing us these days. Wow. Well, yeah, I know, right? Thank you so much for this space and this opportunity to speak, and thank you, Kevin. And I just want to recognize President of our organization, Danny Tabor. I'm the Deputy Director for Move LA. Traditionally in the transit space, but we've done a lot of ballot initiatives over the years, including Measure H. And really, we came to this one actually from a transit perspective. We were seeing a real decline in transit ridership, continue to see in LA County, and we were wondering what this was, and we realized that we were literally pricing out Metro's transit ridership. They had to leave the county because they just could not afford to live here. And so we thought, well, we can't have a robust, viable transit system that supports economic vitality without affordable housing, without people who can actually live near the jobs that they need to go to. And so we saw this as really an economic vitality issue where we want to ensure that workers, particularly low-income workers, can actually live in the city where they work and live near the jobs that they work with affordable housing. And I want to point out something very important here, particularly for this community, for this group. We did not let political leaders touch the writing of this measure. We got into a space for several months and drafted a measure that was solely folks in the homelessness and housing expertise. And honestly, if you go to our website right now, I think we may have one or two politicians who've endorsed it, but we are not actively seeking their endorsement. We've not got any of the major mayoral candidates. We really wanted to keep them at arm's length because they're part of the problem in many of these cases. And we wanted to come up with a solution that was citizen-led, citizen-driven. And so that's really where we came up with United to House LA. And I loved today's program because it was about those root causes, and we really wanted to say, well, how do we address the root causes? How do we look at going upstream and identify the reasons somebody is becoming homeless so that we can prevent that from happening at the outset? And so if you look at what this measure will do in just a decade, it will support tens of thousands of seniors and veterans experiencing homelessness or those at serious risk of homelessness. And Alan will talk a little bit about what that actually means, but we're talking about If somebody loses their job and they need $200-$300 to be able to pay a medical bill or their rent for that month so that they aren't out on the street, we want to give them that ability to pay that so that we can keep them housed, so that we don't have this huge inflow. I don't know if you heard the statistic yet today. I had to step out, but we have 217 people, I think, who become homeless every day when we're housing 205 people. So we can never stem that flow unless we address the root causes of homelessness. We can never achieve we can never reduce homelessness until we reduce that inflow. It's going to help 475,000 at-risk renters maintain their stability and keep their home each and every year through tenant outreach and tenants protection. We're going to build 26,000 homes, helping 69,000 people in a decade, and we're going to create 44,000 construction jobs with a skilled workforce that address wage inequities at the heart of this crisis. If we can actually lift people up out of poverty wages and into construction jobs, which is great for the business community, there's going to be a portion of the business community that is going to make a lot of money from a measure like this. Let's be honest, there are a lot of jobs and opportunity in this, and we want to help lift people out of poverty so that they aren't struggling to pay rent. We're targeting people in that under 30% area median average income, which is $35,000 for a family of four. We anticipate that this will generate about $870 million annually. And how are we going to pay for this? I want to explain that this is what this chart explains. 97% of property sales are unaffected. You can see on the far right only 3%. And I want to make this very clear. This is a one-time tax at the point of sale. If you never sell your property, you will not be taxed. If you have a property under $5 million and it is pegged to inflation, so it will rise, you will not be impacted by this tax. So I just want to make that clear in the way that we structured this. And we actually did an analysis, March 2019 to March 2020. We looked at all the sales then pre-pandemic, and that's where we came up with that statistic. So it is grounded in fact. These are real numbers. We didn't just make up this chart. Alan's staff worked really hard on that. And then the other thing that I want to make very clear, we put in the strongest oversight that we believe we have seen in the city of Los Angeles. We have a paid citizens oversight committee with specific expertise in housing, a professional staff that reports to that citizens committee that's paid, with an inspector general that's funded through the measure, and very limited ability for the city council to change any eligible use for the funding. Again, this goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of not having politicians involved, and probably one of the reasons why they've been reticent to endorse the measure, because we're trying to keep their hands off of what is the public's money. So I'll hand it over to Alan to talk about the housing.
Sure. Great. Thanks, Eli, and thanks, everybody, for allowing us the opportunity to present today. I'm going to go very quickly over the expenditure components of the measure. So we plan to do, as Eli pointed out, both protect existing residents who are vulnerable to becoming homeless and build new affordable housing. And so you'll see how that breaks out. 70% of the total revenue goes to production programs, and 30% of that goes to renter protections. Within the production side, we've got, as you see here, five buckets. About a quarter of the funding goes to what is traditional housing, affordable housing development strategies. So I am the executive director of a place called the Southern California Association of Nonprofit Housing, nonprofit organizations who are in the business of building affordable housing using the federal low-income housing tax credit. So a quarter of the money would go to those existing strategies. But I know that out there in the public world, there's a lot of criticism about the expense and the time that it takes to build affordable housing. And so we're trying to create an opportunity within this program to learn from those experiences. And another quarter of the funds go to support alternative models of affordable development. So for example, the city could act as the sole source of funding on a particular deal. Or the city could, for example, entitle and get all the entitlement processes and approvals necessary ready on a bunch of city-owned properties and do an RFP out to developers to build that housing. That would be a different idea of alternative models that would cut down the amount of time that the traditional affordable housing development model takes. So we try to create some opportunity for innovation there. We have a preservation fund, which allows for community acquisition of existing naturally occurring affordable housing, essentially older multifamily buildings that are for sale and are affordable because of the amount of time they've been in the marketplace. So we want to create opportunities for local organizations, cooperative organizations to be able to come in and buy those properties. They will have to commit to keeping those places affordable in perpetuity and for protecting the existing residents from displacement. The fourth option is ownership model, so cooperative ownership, community land trust ownership, and traditional single-family ownership. And then finally, we've got a stabilization fund for money to move around into different pots if it's oversubscribed, and to create a local rent subsidy program. The tenant protections bucket includes, as Eli pointed out, prevention from evictions for folks who need legal services, income assistance for veterans and seniors who are at risk of becoming homelessness. And in fact, there's an income subsidy component for seniors and veterans in case they just need income. So we've got a rental assistance component and an income assistance component, and then some education.
So where we are, we've collected 63,000 signatures. We need 65,000 valid signatures. We have over 150 endorsers, including groups like ACLU of Southern California, SCAMP, RUV LA, and many, many others. And we have commitments over $1 million to support the campaign with a goal of raising many more millions on that for the full campaign. So we are very well organized. We are very committed to this effort. We're going to get it on the ballot. We look forward to engaging with voters in November.
One quick question, and then we'll wrap it up because there's no time for who's funding you?
Yeah, he's doing it. Right now right now the funders are members of the coalition. So it's tenant-facing support organizations, affordable housing developers, and unions are kind of the lion's share of the current funding.
Well, look, we could easily talk about this ballot measure for at least another 20 minutes. I do want to thank you. I will make the pitch. I do hope that you will come back to BizFed, not the Institute, but to BizFed, and go through the process. I think that you make a compelling argument, and the items you talk about affordable housing, they need to be heard in a different perspective than, frankly, we're used to hearing. Yeah. So I do hope you will come back. I'm more than happy to help you with that if you need be. So
I would make a commitment. BizFed has always been a partner with us with doing big ballot initiatives, Measure R and Measure M being the case. My colleague Denny Zane always points out that Tracy was at the press conference when we launched Measure M and Measure R way back in 2008. So, we see BizFed as a true ally and partner. We understand that there are some challenges with this measure, but we really do want to engage in the conversation. That's really important for us.
I think that the issue itself is challenging, as I think we're highlighting today. So, but definitely a good approach, one worth learning more about.
If you live in the city of Los Angeles and you want to help us out, we are collecting signatures today. So.